Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, Israel in a time of solemn fasting while threats continue from Iran and Hezbollah. Middle East expert Yigal Carmon presents a vision of a weakened Iran. Plus, looking back at 10 years of trying to make it work. Adele Raemer recalls the years living next to Gaza. And Magen David Adom prepares for any scenario. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. Israeli intelligence is now indicating there are signs Iran is preparing for a large-scale attack, possibly as soon as the next few days, in retaliation for the killing of the Hamas leader in Tehran. Now, with tensions on the rise, the U.S. is sending a powerful array of military assets to the region. Take a look. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin ordered the guided missile submarine USS Georgia to the Middle East and told the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier to increase its speed to the region. Austin also spoke with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who told IDF recruits that Israel is ready.
You should know this, that whoever will harm us in a way that he has not acted in the past is also likely to get hit by us in a way that we have not acted in the past, and the IDF has a significant and strong capability.
Alex Trayman of JNS.org tells CBN News if and when Iran and its proxies attack, Israel's response will be robust.
I absolutely expect a much more robust Israeli response, both because it's expected that the attack of Iran will be larger than the attack in April, and it will be a coordinated attack, an attack that includes Hezbollah to Israel's north and possibly the Houthis in Yemen towards Israel's south. So this is a coordinated attack. While the United States says that they want to de-escalate tensions in the region could not be higher.
Hamas escalated those tensions when they refused to join negotiations on August 15th that some hoped would lead to a ceasefire. All these tensions come on the eve of Tisha B'Av, one of the most solemn days of the year for the Jewish people. Many fast and remember the calamities that fell on the Jewish people, like the destruction of the first and second Jewish temples.
So it's a day of major Jewish calamity in history, but at the end of times, it's supposed to be that the Tisha B'Av becomes a day of joy. And we know that this war started on Simchat Torah, which is a major Jewish holiday. The enemies of the Jewish people turned this day of joy, the Simchat Torah, into a day of mourning like Tisha B'Av. So hopefully this conflict will be able to turn Tisha B'Av from a day of mourning into a day of joy.
On Sunday, the IDF refuted accusations it targeted civilians when it attacked a meeting of Hamas terrorists, including a top Islamic Jihad commander.
An area that, according to our intelligence, no women and children were present. You can see in a video published by us today that the compound is still intact and that there is no significant cratering or damage to the main structure of the compound. This pattern of systematic abuse of schools for military activities by Hamas and Islamic Jihad endangers both Gazans and Israeli civilians. It must be condemned by the international community.
In the middle of war and turmoil, an encouraging moment for the Jewish state. As the Olympics closed in Paris, Israeli athletes celebrated their best Olympics ever with a total of 7 medals. Israel and the world are still waiting to see if Iran and its proxies will mount the massive attack they've threatened, as Israelis gathered in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv to pray on the day of great mourning. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stallman has that story.
Despite the threats on multiple fronts, tens of thousands of Israelis gathered to pray in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv for the commemoration of Tisha B'Av. It's a day on the Hebrew calendar when throughout history disasters fell upon the Jewish people, including the destruction of both the first and second temples and the start of World War I. Beginning Monday, the prayers continue through today and include the reading of the Book of Lamentations. The observance even more significant this year as Israel faces imminent threat of attack from Iran, Hezbollah, and other Iranian proxies in the region. The IDF is ready to take preventative action if necessary.
We attack all the time and remove threats as soon as we detect them. We are at peak readiness for this mission.
Israel's defense minister says the Jewish nation is ready.
We are in the days of vigilance and preparedness. The threats from Tehran, as well as Beirut, may come to fruition.
The U.S. agrees with Israel's intelligence warning that a wave of major attacks could come at any moment.
We have to be prepared for what could be a significant set of attacks.
On the northern border, Hezbollah appears to be readying for war. Lebanese media reports the terror group has evacuated its Beirut headquarters. President Biden joined the leaders of Germany, France, Britain, and Italy in a joint statement on the situation. We expressed our support for the defense of Israel against Iranian aggression and against attacks by Iran-backed terrorist groups. We called on Iran to stand down its ongoing threats of a military attack against Israel. In Gaza, Israeli forces say they came close to delivering a major blow against Hamas. An IDF general reveals forces were just minutes away from reaching Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar in his underground lair. Hot coffee and piles of cash left behind by the occupants. This as Israeli leaders engaged in an open spat. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Defense Minister Yoav Gallant of adopting an anti-Israel narrative after Gallant criticized Netanyahu's talk of absolute victory. Netanyahu says it's a clear goal that everyone is obligated to support. Julie Stallman, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, Yigal Carmon, founder of MEMRI, shares his thoughts about what Iran really wants and doesn't want to see happen. As the founder of the Middle East Research Institute, or MEMRI, Yigal Carmon has shed light for decades on what's being said in the Arab world. One of his specialties is separating the signal from the noise, especially during this moment of standoff with Iran and Hezbollah. Here's a recent conversation we had. Yigal Carmon, thanks for joining us for MEMRI. Tell us where we are right now.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Everybody is anticipating an attack by Iran, by Hezbollah, and it doesn't seem like coming. They are backing away. They made a very self-humiliating move by making the new president ask Khamenei not to attack Israel. What a joke, what a game, everybody understands it. Why are they backing away? Because Israel behaved unlike before. It said clearly, if you attack us, we go against you full force, no matter what, no matter the position of the American administration. This scares them a lot. They are an unstable country. No one likes the regime of the Ayatollahs. They have their paid people, the IRGC, the Basij, but other than that, if there is chaos in Tehran, they are finished. They know that. Their economy is going away. All the oil, everything. The nuclear sites are going to go. This is a high price to pay. So they don't want to mess with us. They want attrition. That's all. They want to scare us. They want to get a payback for refraining from attacking. And they hold the negotiations with America. They don't look at Israel. They are equal to America, right? And they talk with America. What do you give us for refraining from that? Now Hezbollah. Hezbollah can't do without Iran. And they understand the Iranian position. The casualties that happened the other day, 19, most of them were from an Iron Dome accident. They want also only attrition. But Israel told them, no attrition. We go full force against Lebanon. Not only you, against Lebanon. This is pretty high price to pay. And they want to refrain from it, especially that they don't have Iran to back them.
There are reports that Hezbollah will attack, Iran will restrain itself. But you're saying both Hezbollah and Iran are feeling the threats.
Of course, because Hezbollah understands that the threat that was told to them again and again by the Chief of Staff, by the Minister of Defense, by the Prime Minister, even me. I spoke on Arab TV and told them what will happen, how they will go back to the Stone Age. So they understand that Nasrallah cannot take upon himself the destruction of Lebanon. So they are in a very bad position because of Israel's deterrence. Now, what Israel says is, we will not care about the American administration's position. Now, imagine, Chris, had we had a coordination with America, had we had America backing us, what deterrence would that be? It would be deterrence of the whole Middle East. Unfortunately, we cannot hope for that kind of coordination right now.
How would you describe the behavior of the Biden administration in this whole scenario?
Well, they want to avoid war at any cost. I can't enter into American politics. I'm not American, but I understand that they would pay anything to avoid war. And this is on the account of Israel, on our account. To pay back for what? Pay the Iranians for what? For having all the terrorists, for acting against America by all their proxies, the Houthis that blocked the Dead Sea shipping, by the pro-Iran Iraqi militias that hit American bases. What payback? For what? They should be deterred in the strongest way. This is what one would expect from an American administration, because lack of deterrence brings more attacks. And here we show what deterrence can, what effect can deterrence have. We said we will go mad on you, and they back away.
Up next, a peacenik turned realist. Adele Raemer from Kibbutz Nerim shares what it was like to have Gaza as your close neighbor. Nearly 2 decades ago, Israel agreed to disengage from Gaza with the thought it might be a step toward peace. Since then, however, those living near the Gaza Strip and beyond have endured constant rocket attacks that ultimately led to the events of October 7th. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stallman spoke with one Israeli woman about her years living next to the Gaza Strip.
When Israel pulled some 8,000 Israelis out of the Gaza Strip in 2005, leaders did so with good intentions and hoped for positive results.
We believed in peace, and we worked for peace.
Adele Raemer lives on Kibbutz Nerim, next to the border fence with Gaza. She helped Gazans for years, hoping to achieve the dream. That changed after October 7th.
For years, the Gazans, the world, have been saying that they live in an open-air prison. So if it was such an open-air prison, how did they get all of the cement in to build tunnels? How did they get all of the weaponry that they came over here with? The tactical weapons, the flak jackets, the helmets, the Kalashnikovs. How does that get into an open-air prison?
She explains how it happened.
Unfortunately, the money that came in, instead of going to the people that needed the money, the Gazan people who deserved the money, who needed the money for food, to fix their houses, to build new houses and schools, all of that money was invested in warfare and invested in tunnels, where our people are being kept now.
In 2022, Raemer told CBN News what it was like to live under constant threat.
From the moment we hear the red alert, we have between 0 to 10 seconds before we hear the explosion of the rocket. And that's the amount of time that we have to get to someplace safe.
Each home near the Gaza border and all those built across Israel since the early 90s include a bomb shelter. Then again, rockets aren't the only weapon Hamas uses to attack border communities.
There's a whole web of tunnels
under our feet. And imagine being in New York and a terrorist popping up from a sewer all of a sudden and spraying the people all around with machine gun fire.
Even before that, the United Nations knew about the situation. 10 years ago, the IDF showed then UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon the evidence.
I was shocked and alarmed by this underground tunnel, which had been used for penetration for terrorist purpose. I have been repeatedly condemning this rocket attacks by Hamas from the air.
While visiting Kibbutz Nirim, he met the family of Daniel Traeger, a 4-year-old killed in a Hamas mortar attack. Recently, at the fence where Hamas terrorists broke through to enter her community, Raemer reflected on life before 2005.
I used to go into a car on a Saturday and drive out to the beach, go to the open-air market in Gaza, and Gazans used to come over here and work. I spoke to a Gazan who worked on my kitchen 20 years ago. And I asked them, it must be hard because you have to get up really early in the morning to cross over and do the security checks. He said, yeah, but at least I can put food on my table and clothe my children.
She recalled that conversation while trapped in her bomb shelter on October 7th.
And as I was sitting in the safe room with my son holding down that handle, I was wondering to myself, where are all the good Gazans? Where are they? How is this happening?
Raemer admitted it would take a lot for her to work for peace again.
I have to earn back my trust. Everybody has to earn back my trust. Also the IDF, who let the ball drop on October 7th, not on purpose, but there were many, many mistakes that were fatal mistakes that were made that day that cannot ever, ever happen again.
Julie Stallman, CBN News, Kibbutz Nirim, Israel.
Well, joining us to talk more about this story is Middle East correspondent Julie Stallman. Great report with Adele. And we were both there reporting on the disengagement. And this is very relevant tonight. I'm going to show some headlines from 2005. The disengagement passed in the Knesset. And then it went ahead, forced evacuation. There were 9,000 residents in the Gaza Strip. It was permanently closed off back in 2005.
Yeah.
The quartet at the time, that was the UN, the EU, the US, I think, and Russia. They said it was a rare opportunity. They really thought peace was going to happen. However, Hassan Mashal from Hamas says it's the end of Israel, the beginning of the end of Israel. Ahmed Khoury from the Palestinian Authority, today Gaza, tomorrow Jerusalem. But Ya'alon, he was the IDF chief of staff at the time. Yeah. He said it would face another war of terror. Here we are, how many years later, since 2005, and Gaza became the biggest terror base in the world. And we were there. We reported on the disengagement. What are your thoughts so many years later?
Well, you know, I mean, I think there was a lot of disinformation in terms of what Israelis really knew about what was going to happen there.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of hope. This was going to be great and everything. And simply, when we were down there and you were looking and you were seeing what the situation was, you could tell it wasn't going to be great. Those settlers, if you want to call them that, those Israelis, they were kind of put there anyway in a strategic way, that the army would be in there and prevent the kind of things like Hamas taking over and building tunnels. So, you know, it was I don't know, it was awful.
But many of the people that we met and talked to personally, they knew what would happen. I remember one guy who was the spokesman for the people in Gush Katif at the time. We're the finger in the dike. If you take us out of the finger, you're going to get terror. And that's what happened.
That is exactly what happened. And, you know, those people, because they knew, they lived among these people. And they knew what the situation really was. There were terror attacks down there. There were terror attacks inside. I remember a school bus that was attacked by terrorists and killed kids, you know, and so they knew they were living on the edge. And even there were, you know, the settlements that were 3 of them right at the top of the northern Gaza Strip, and nobody ever thought those would be evacuated because it was clear they were a security buffer.
Sure.
And then suddenly at the last minute they were out too, and then those people on the Israeli side were the front lines. and they had to build a wall, and they were severely attacked on October 7th.
Yeah, you know, the two wars that Israel's facing right now is Gaza still fighting Hamas, although degraded in a significant way. And then Hezbollah on the north, when in 2000, they pulled out of there. And that was a security buffer zone for 18 years. So it's a lesson, a hard, bitter lesson that Israel has had to learn. When you pull out of land like that, Muslims see that as a victory.
Yeah, because they view power. Power is the right thing. That's what they look up to. That's what they humble themselves to. And if you suddenly are like nicey nice and weak, then goodbye.
Yeah. And you're planning to interview another lady that we met down there, Anita Tucker, who was the celery lady because she grew thousands and thousands of celery heads. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to meet with Anita, her community, Netzer Chatzani. The whole community moved out together, and they're not too far from the Gaza Strip, about halfway between here and there. And they've established their own community, continued the farming. But, you know, most of the farmers, they couldn't farm anymore. Yeah. They lost their farming. And those greenhouses were bought by wealthy Jewish people in the States, given to the Palestinians so they could have a source of income, and they burned them down and destroyed them. So that in itself should have been a clue 19 years ago.
Yeah, a bitter lesson. Julie, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Still ahead, prepared and ready. Israel's National Emergency Medical Services go into standby mode and harness AI to help save lives. As Iran and Hezbollah escalate their threats against Israel, the nation's emergency services are preparing for potential large-scale attacks. Our correspondent Chuck Holton got an exclusive look at how Israel's National Emergency Medical Service, Magen David Adom, is readying itself for any scenario.
You've heard of the Red Cross, but in Israel, it's the Red Star of David that's saving lives. Magen David Adom, or MDA, is Israel's premier ambulance and blood service. With a force of over 30,000 volunteers, they're on the front lines of Israel's defense against terror.
So ever since October 7, 2023, Magen David Adom has been preparing for a large-scale war in Israel. We understand that, first of all, maybe international assistance will be blocked because the airport will be closed. So we have stored medical equipment, water, and food rations for many months ahead.
MDA's arsenal includes more than 1,500 ambulances, hundreds of motorcycles, and even boats and helicopters. They're not just preparing, they're ready for war.
We train our people to work in what we call an isolated island scenario, meaning those are the ambulances that you have. This is the manpower that you have. Now think of how you respond better without having the umbrella of the entire organization.
As they seek to help Israel be as prepared as possible for whatever might happen in the next few days, Magen David Adom is doing a lot more than just providing ambulance services and first aid training. They're also stockpiling things like this generator in different spots all around the country in case there's a nationwide power outage because of the attacks. MDA isn't just waiting for attacks. They're empowering Israeli citizens to defend themselves.
We train communities, we equip them with medical equipment, so if, God forbid, they are attacked, they can respond first.
In the face of these threats, MDA is leveraging cutting-edge American technology to save lives.
We are using AI features in order to send ambulances automatically without the intervention of a human, done very, very quick. We use a machine learning processes in order to predict where the next call will come from.
And as Israelis watch the skies tonight, MDA is as prepared as it can get.
We are in a standby, as nobody really knows what will happen. And we do understand that if Iran will retaliate from 5 different fronts, this might cause damage in a colossal magnitude. This might cause hundreds, if not thousands, of wounded. And this is why everyone are preparing.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, Magen David Adom does amazing work, and just incredible that they can use AI that way. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember to follow us on social media, and you can access CBN content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. And please continue to pray for Israel, for all those caught in harm's way, and for the hostages to return home. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.